step forward.
Everyone, we are back. We've been gone for a fat ass minute. Then and Out podcast. We are beginning our Oktoberfest Halloween stuff. We got live shows, reactions, and reviews, starting with this shit today, The Exorcist. How y'all doing, brothers?
I was okay until like the possibility of sound just came through my head. Now. Like that was a lot to take in. But I'm managing. I'm still here. I haven't quit yet. Well, I quit one job, but not this job. Yeah.
There you go. This ain't a job. This is, trust me, this ain't a job. This is fun. I came here for fun. I am. That's the perfect use of word cacophony. That was everything from him screaming to slapping his hands to literal cannon fire in our ears. That was a cacophony. I'm happy to be here. I am exhausted. I literally worked this week. I already worked 57 hours. I'm exhausted, but I'm happy to be here.
Fun thing, just because we're childish, well, I'm childish, it's when we have pause moments on the show from now on, I will no longer say pause or hey, yo. You will simply hear immediately. Just I quit. I think it really got a feel.
I want you to tell them what that sound means.
Hey, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. But guys, we're back now. We took a little bit of a hiatus because we planned on doing a lot of content for October, and I know how strenuous it would be on us and the schedules that my cohorts have here. So we want to take a little bit of a breather, refresher, and come back into everything fresh and ready to go. And we're doing that today with a popular film in media right now. I think everybody's talking about it, at least from the things that I've seen on social media. The Exorcist, the Believer, I think is the name of the actual title of it, Exorcist Believer. This is this is a direct sequel to the original Exorcist. I'm guessing this is kind of similar to the Halloween stuff, where Blumhouse like bought the rights and just said all that other shit that came out before after the first one, this doesn't exist anymore. This is the direct sequel now.
The official term is
it's called a requel. They spent like $40 million to buy the rights to this film, which was cool. I'm kind of scared because they're making a trilogy. In case y'all didn't know, this is a trilogy, which I figured they'd do to get that money back.
Was this the first of a trilogy?
Yes, the first one.
Yep. I don't know how they're going to drag it out, but yeah. But we'll go ahead and start with reviews. I have a plethora of notes here. So what I want to start doing because I know we had issues with spoiler stuff in the past. For the first like 10 to 12 minutes, I just want to discuss non-spoilery stuff. So just like the film itself and how it made you feel and things like that. And then we can get into the actual plot, spoiler points, and specific details for the rest of the episode. Just so anybody that's watching that has not seen the film yet, but wanted to see our thoughts on it, you can watch the first 10 minutes, pause it, go see the movie, and come back and finish up the video. But I'll let Otis start off first because I know you have a very interesting relationship with this franchise in general, because I think if I remember correctly, you said the first Exorcist was like the scariest thing in your life up until this point.
No,
correct.
It was the first horror movie I ever watched though.
Okay.
And it did it definitely left a lasting impression. I still remember stuff from that movie to this day. So I mean, my first thing, I wouldn't call this a horror movie. This is not a horror movie with a horror premise, right? Like this is this was scary, like for a second, like they tried to do some jump scares with some glass smacking, but like you don't have to have a strong stomach to handle this one. In my opinion.
I think your audio gets that a little bit there. What you said is you wouldn't call this a horror movie. You call it a what with horror in it?
It's a drama with a horror like premise. Like it's supposed to be horror because it's an exorcism. Because I mean I don't know what other genre you put that in any other way.
Right.
But like, it's not scary. Like I didn't really like feel fear or dread or worry watching this. I was just like, these are the things that happen. Mm-hmm. Cool. Got it. But I mean, that being said, I don't think that it was done like horribly. Like I really enjoyed the performance from the main guy,
Leslie Odom Jr.
Yeah, I think he did a pretty good job actually. He you saw him go through different stages of grief within it, so I think he he did the mission. Everything else kind of around him was kind of like, daughter included, because I was just like, you didn't like. This is like supposed to be the requel to The Exorcist, and like you didn't give me like even a third of the energy from the original. But I didn't expect that, just because I mean that was a whole. I mean that is where they come from, right? So, but like this was a light exorcism. Like I mean, like a light possession. It was like, oh. It's not even that bad. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
okay.
Oh, cool. She put a cross on her head upside down. Oh, God.
Fingernails falling off.
Right. Like
rotting physically.
This was a light exorcism. You know
bleeding from orifices.
Yeah. Like,
right. Just something light.
Of course.
She vomited like twice. You know what I'm saying? She. Nope. Only a few people died in the process. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't
only a few.
Which is funny. I mean, one thing about it that is interesting is how the body count in this movie is higher than the original, because the original is literally 2. It's 2 because it's both the people that actually perform. Spoiler alert for the original Exorcist. It's both the fathers that die. One of them dies performing the exorcism. He's just so old, pretty much. It just exhausts his body doing it, and he goes down. The other one takes the demon into him, jumps out the window, pretty much trying to kill him in the process, essentially. And those are the only two deaths in the movie.
I thought there were only 2 bodies in this one, right? Did I remember?
So, I mean,
the opening sequence had more bodies dropped than anything in the first one, like way more. But that wasn't even the horror part. That was just natural disaster.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Deaths, the curse that's going backwards and everything, all the manipulation of like you try to do this chant to protect this person, but surprise, it backfired and all. Yeah, so there's a lot of death. The body count, but because that's one thing too that even just from the billboard, and I actually give props to the marketing and to the billboard. I hate billboards. So it's just a person's face, like just Tom Cruise, and it says, "Come Shooter 94," whatever. I movies actually have. Yeah, put that sentence. There we go.
I knew it was coming. But when it happened, it didn't make me. And you know what?
He said it. Otis said it. I didn't say that part. Otis said that one.
Why are we here? We're here to talk about a horror movie.
We're grown adult men. I liked how the marketing actually showed the idea was that it's more people suffering from the jump. That's the whole idea. So as opposed to one young girl being possessed, it's 2. I got you. Bigger and bigger. Bigger means better kind of thing with sequels. I got you. I'm here for that. So clearly they're gonna have more bodies stacking up. For this time, for the exorcism, it's not going to be 2 reverends doing it. Not even in the Catholic Church, it'll be like a whole community, whole town doing it. So I get what they're going for. But like Otis was saying earlier, the reason the first one worked so much was that it's basically just the relationship between a mother and her daughter. Because to the point where in the 70s especially, it was a single mom and her daughter, and they were the family. And they were like best friends and everything to each other. So the idea of the worst nightmare is that a mom is unable to help her daughter in any way possible against an overwhelming threat. In this movie, you're seeing signs of that, but it's also very much like there's a whole community trying to back them up. It's a lot of other things going on too, and lots of grief and stages of the grief and tragedy. It gets a little complicated. So it's a different flavor. It is much more of a drama than it is an overwhelming sense of grief and atmosphere from start to finish. If that makes sense.
I concur with my colleagues here. David Gordon Green, the guy that directed this film, he, from what the movie, at least the films that I've seen him in, because he, hold your breath, he directed the other Halloween franchise as well. And the thing that I'm seeing that's consistent with this and the also new Halloween,
the most recent
like,
ones, yeah,
the most recent ones. He's very like big on sociological studies, almost in a sense of like seeing, well, sociological philosophy is what I would call it in my notes, is where he loves to see how people in society will react to exorcisms or horror or serial killer, things of that nature. Because this like film, especially in like the ending monologue, paid a special attention to like people and what is fear, what is joy, what is happiness, and which is great because like what Otis said, it's a drama. It felt more like a drama with horror aspects inside of it for those key reasons. Because even in the beginning, which this is the part I enjoy, I guess they show a lot of development in the father and the daughter and showing their dynamic and why the father feels the way he does, which is a positive to me because it makes me care about these people and if they die or if bad things happen to them or not. But it also, I feel like, takes away a little bit from the horror aspect of the film as well. Maybe I just feel like they didn't set a tone long enough. They didn't hold a horror tone long enough. They had their big beats, like with the actual exorcism and different things that they did great. First and foremost, the editing for this was wow. Shout out to the editors because the transitions were clean. The transitions added to the narrative of it. They had a big thing with like even in the transitions, sometimes they were like show some foreshadowing. Like it would transition to something that would be a plot point later on in the film. Or an area they would return to. Also in the directing aspect that David Gordon Green did well was the aspect of taking a environment and showing it to you in a joyful setting when things are good, but also taking that exact same shot and twisting it into something dark. There is a specific scene in like a hallway, for lack of a better term, in which you're seeing the hallway during the beginning of the film, and it's just like happy-go-lucky, things are cute, and then they show that exact same shot, and now they're using it in a horror instance. They'll show there's a lot of setup and payoffs here. So I will say that the script was very tight to me as far as how things progressed, and I didn't feel like the pacing was crazy bad. I didn't get bored in the setup and development of characters, at least for me personally. But what I will say is that it got a little bit too, like as a dude with a sociology degree, it got a little bit too far into that realm. I'm like, okay, I get it. I see what you're trying to do here, but you're kind of beating a dead horse by the end of this film. Also, I thought that they tried to push I know that person from nothing really hard. They brought back Ellen Burstyn, which is the original. I think she was the original mom in the first movie.
Chris, yeah,
or it could be actor betraying her.
No, it's her. It's 100% her.
It's her? Okay.
100%.
They made it a whole, which I don't hate it as much because it was a little bit of defying expectation, because in the trailer, they made it a big thing about her making a return. And I guess in a lot of people's mind, they made that out to be like she's going to be a big part of the plot going forward and solving the exorcism, which, without giving away spoilers, she isn't. But when they do bring her in, they make it like this big moment in the film in which, oh my God, she's back. They're playing the original music as a callback. They're showing her with these shots where she's looking off into the distance and being grand and doing a whole research study on her, when I felt like that wasn't really needed. I felt like that was like a 10 to 15 minutes of the film that were kind of wasted day that you could have used on the girls more, or more development of the family. You can involve her if you want to, but they did so much establishing for her just to kind of throw her away like halfway through the film. That part to me felt a little bit jarring there, in the way they forced that. That felt more like a, here fans, be happy, we're doing this for you type of thing.
That's the whole.
But I actually disagree, but we'll get to that more when we get to the spoiler portion of it.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, right? Yeah, I don't think there was anything wrong with the pacing. It didn't lose my interest really. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the setups and payoffs, just because the overall
You're cutting out on us real quick. Your mic's cutting out for a second.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good now. You're good.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I don't know if I can agree with the setups and payoffs, just because, I mean, again, we'll get to this heavier in the spoiler portion, but the overall end result wasn't necessarily set up Like there wasn't anything that showcased that happening earlier in the film. It just got there. Like, you know, like that moment wasn't set up until it was there. Like, you know, everything with that, the dad and all of, like, none of that was pre-built in my personal opinion. But again, we'll get to that in the spoiler portion. But yeah, like, but the rest of that I agree with. I care about these people. Like, I mean, Leslie Odom Jr. Did a good job, like, you know, really connecting himself to every other character in some way that really made it feel endearing and authentic. And I mean, everyone played off of him pretty well, in my opinion. When he wasn't on screen, I do feel like some of the energy of the film went down.
Did you like the girls at all?
Not really.
Like the two girls? Really? Okay.
Not really. I mean, I don't think they did bad, but it wasn't like memorable. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a standout thing to me.
So one thing I got to remember too with this, and this is something that Linda Blair, you know, commented on over the years, and she was nominated for an Oscar for this. I can't remember if she won or was just nominated for when she played it in the first one, when she was a child portraying being possessed. Like that's acting too. So the little girls showing the range of how they were as little girls to when they are possessed, that's acting. That's them acting there. So that is something.
It was makeup and voiceover work.
I mean, yeah, of course, there's lots of ADR, but it's not just the makeup. It's also how they're moving. It's also how they're screaming. It's the idea of like evoking the idea of like, I'm taking your kid to hell.
They didn't give me like gruesome movements. Like I wasn't like usually when I see like something like possession, stuff like that, like they're moving in a way or doing something that makes me like it makes my skin crawl to a degree. Like I never got that from them. Like I was just like, oh, you're still possessed, huh? Okay, cool. Oh, you're getting more possessed now. Got it.
For me, I loved them because I thought like they did a lot of. They didn't do as much body acting, but they did so much with their face. Yeah. Like that's one thing I was watching the entire time of like. There's a scene in which the little girl. Well, they show like the name is. It's Angela's the name of the character. But Lydia Jouet is the actor, and in the beginning they're kind of like establishing her person, because the thing that they do really well is that they establish the personality so you can understand how much of a shift it is when they're possessed and so on. Right. And there's a scene in which like she's freshly possessed and she's like in the bed with her father, like talking to him, and you can tell she's distant. And then just like for the way she's looking off into the distance in a certain way and making subtle gestures in which it just feels cold. It felt cold watching her interact with her father because it's so different. And I got a very similar vibe from the other little girl, Caitlin, Olivia O'Neill. I feel like the kids did so much with their facial expressions when it's like showing, because you're essentially playing two different characters in a sense at different points, and they're like bringing in enough to be like, oh, well, I'm possessed, but I'm going to come back so my parents feel comfortable, and then I'm going to go back again. Right. But I don't know. I loved them. To Otis's point, a lot of that could have been the makeup as well at certain points, like near the end, because shout out to the special effects team on this, because their makeup was fucking spectacular. And the prosthetics were spectacular at certain points. Like, I know O said it wasn't, what was the word he used? Not jarring, but, I can't remember, like uncomfortable. Watching like some of the fingernail prosthetics and stuff like that, or like back stuff, I was like, ooh. Well, so it was like I'm disgustedly impressed.
But the thing is, we're at such a different age. Like, I think both y'all saw Evil Dead Rise. I know Charlie saw Evil Dead Rise. Okay, so we're in an era. Otis saw it too. Right? So if you compare it, it's like, or if any Fede Alvarez like horror movie, like the thing is that we're at the era of gore porn. Things you can do is so crazy compared to the first one when it was back in the early 70s, where they weren't trying to go for that as much. The thing that was most horrifying was a split piece soup, literally. This is like if you're trying to scare people with the visuals and the makeup, it's like the bar is insane. So you can't really go over the top with gore. It's like it's already, we've literally seen it all before. So it's kind of, where do you go with that? And like you said, Charlie, pretty much all you can do is try to make it seem like the people inside the bodies are trapped. That's the scariest thing. Like the scariest line, of course, the idea of like when, what's it first, Chris asked him where the demon tells, oh, well, that's spoilers. But the idea of children, again, these are children who are innocent, pure, and good people, are literally
also stupid though. Really horrible decision making. Like really terrible decision making.
All kids
From the parents' part.
But they're kids who are prisoners.
On the child part, because why would you go out into? We'll get to that in the spoiler part.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
But you never did anything that stupid though.
No, never.
I didn't either.
Why?
Oh God, my bad. Go ahead, Ian. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But it's I like I said, I agree with both of y'all that it is this isn't Academy Award-winning acting, and it's also the idea of that they're overselling it. Like one of the most convincing things back in the day with Linda Blair when she was lying in the bed was her just kind of like laying there like she just looked like an angry old man, and you believe like how is this child an angry old man just sitting there? She wasn't always screaming. She wasn't always doing all kinds of stuff. Oftentimes she was just sitting there complaining like an old dude sitting back soup. In this movie, they are kind of overacting a bit, or they're overselling it, as you might say. So that can be a bit much. I get that. But at the same time, it is, it's what they were going for with the performances. So,
I mean, a fun fact about the original one: most of those expressions she had were real because that girls get tortured in that first movie.
Yeah,
the screams were. That's why I think that's what made this so like jarring for people because that was an actual scream. Like she was an actual.
Her back was getting snapped, and
she has like permanent back issues to this day about it. Apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, to me it was a well-made movie. We can move into spoiler territory now. I think we've given enough of like the actual like pre-stuff. If y'all have any more like closing thoughts before we get into spoilers.
Do you want to give the actual score before we get to spoilers, or wait till after?
We can give an actual score now and then get into spoilers, just for people that are trying to decide if they want to go see it or not, to spend the money or the time.
Yeah.
For me, do you want to start?
Go ahead. It's on you.
Oh, okay. On the first watch, I had that first watch glaze, so I had it at a 8.5 or a 9 initially on my first watch, and there were some things I contemplated, and I went through my notes again. I think it would sit around the 8 for me. I think it was well made. I enjoyed myself. There was some stuff that was kind of puffed up, I guess, for lack of a better word, or bloated. But I enjoyed this film. I thought it was a well-made film. But I'm not gonna lie, it scared me with the sequel stuff because I hope this isn't like the Halloween trilogy where like the first one in the trilogy starts off pretty solid and then they just tank as they keep going.
God.
I really hope this isn't that.
I think ultimately too, like Halloween just isn't designed to have that much meat on the bones. It's ultimately a dude walking around killing people that's meant to be literally called a shape. He's not meant to be an actual character as much. So with this, there are these characters you can explore. There's stuff they can do. So that's a different thing. You can go next on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't for the horror aspect. It was for the character building. It was for the relationships that you saw between, the two girls and their two girls with their individual families. But it didn't scare me for a second. Like I was just sitting there waiting. It was like, okay, is here where the jump scare is gonna be? And like the biggest jump scare you got is a smack. Like it is not a horror movie. So I mean, it gets some marks off for that to a degree for me. But I mean, again, Leslie Odom Jr. did a really great job. I was invested in, seeing what happens to these girls. I didn't expect it to go how it went. I'm curious to see how they try to continue that, because I mean, I was already feeling desensitized to what they were doing with their with the actual possession in the first one, giving me 2 more. Like, oh, she's possessed again. The Possession Strikes Back. That's what we're calling the next one.
I guess.
I think it's called Deceiver. Exorcist Deceiver. Yeah,
that'd be cool if they like explore. Well, again, I don't want to spoil it. Never mind. I'll wait. Go ahead.
So yeah, my viewing experience is completely different than y'all, because I had to piece it together over the past few hours. But I think I'm in between y'all because it does seem like a well put together movie. However, it isn't as much of a horror movie. And I think ultimately too, it can't capture the lightning of the first one. Of course it can't. It's impossible to do that. You can't replicate that. It's not going to happen. And also but at the same time, for a current audience, like obviously Charlie wasn't around and Otis wasn't actually around either. I wasn't even around when the first one came out. We weren't around. None of us are actually alive to see it in the theaters. So what they're trying to do is say, hey, well, since you weren't there for that, what if you never saw an Exorcist movie before? Would this create the same experience for a brand new person? I don't know if it would. I don't think so. But is it still an enjoyable movie? Yeah. Is it still what did they put effort into this? Did it have good acting, better acting than you see in most horror or drama with horror in movies? Sure. Did it have a story that was coherent and made sense for the most part? Yes. So those elements, like, yes, it's a well done thing. So I'd say 7.5.
Yeah, that is one observation I do have. Well, there's one observation I have in regards to what I'm seeing in horror right now and the state of it, is that it's starting to lean more into like those sociological observations and like character building. I'm seeing a lot more I'm seeing horror move into more of a suspense lane. And you're seeing a lot with like the bigger stuff with like the Jordan Peele films or any of the Ari Aster stuff, where these directors are really focusing on either like if you're Jordan Peele, you're focusing on a message and ways to convey that message to your film, or if you're Ari Aster, you're looking at the same thing. You're looking at a message there, but a lot of these films are focusing on the character writing and development. Which, if you're watching most of the stuff from like the 80s or the 70s, and a lot of especially the early 2000s, that really wasn't the case. It was more so like slasher or ghost, kill, scare. And now we're starting to get a little bit more love and like thought process in the writing of stuff. But I think in them doing that, they're starting to take a little bit away from keeping a consistent tone of dread. But again, part of that could be from me just growing up and not being as scared anymore. Because I feel like horror movies had a bigger effect on me as a child and a teen. Like when I was 11, when the Nightmare remake came out, that scared the fuck out of me. Like Buddy, that I can't remember his name right now. The dude who played Rorschach was playing
Earl Hurley, Jackie Earl
Hurley. He scared the shit out of me watching that film. Like he was just creepy to me. The prosthetic or whatever else when I was 11, that scared the shit out of me. Watching as an adult, it's still creepy, but I don't have that same fear of dread because I'm an adult and I just don't feel it as much. I don't think there has been a movie that's really scared. Maybe Sinister is the only one that really scared me at one point.
Oh, that one got you. I didn't know that one got you because that Otis to me, like that one missed us.
But I will say there's a couple of jump scares in that were cheap that got me. I was like, okay, you. Well, bastard. I mean, I see what you did there.
Yeah, but here's the thing about it. Talking about Sinister is that, and this is something with horror movies they used to do much more. So essentially, is you're constantly trying to build that sense of dread. The original Exorcist was constantly building a sense of dread because you're like, what is going on with this girl? Because sometimes like she seemed a little better, but she kept getting things kept seeming off, and you see her literally slap her mom, the taste at her mom's mouth, and her mom has to try to figure out how to deal with it. And like you're seeing that the mom is slowly decomposing. It's in the same way that happens in Ari Aster movies, where that family y'all have seen, obviously Hereditary, that family is collapsing, imploding slowly until it completely implodes entirely. Midsommar, it's bonkersness. So it's like that's kind of the idea, like you're saying, of psychological horror and seeing things decompose. It happens even in Saw movies. Essentially, it's that constant sense of like things are ratcheting up. But in some of these dramas, like with this one, it's not as prevalent. It's not as present. I didn't think it was executed well. I think they tried to ramp it up, but one, because we've seen it before with the first one, and then two, we've been building up to this point that they've been like trying to build up to it, but. I think that's part of the issue with it being a sequel is like, okay, this is The Exorcist. We know what to expect now. When are we going to get to the exorcism? Like that's when are we going to get there? And I think those other films think about this. We've seen so many exorcism movies since then. It's like there's all kinds of possession of Emily Rose, all kinds of. It happens all the time. There's parodies of it. So it's like it's old news now.
Shit, they just dropped the Pope's Exorcist like a couple months ago.
That Russell Crowe thing.
That was fun. I had fun with that one. It wasn't too.
I think it has like 5% Rotten Tomatoes. It's like these are.
Yeah. But yeah, it was again interesting film. So for anybody watching now, this is the point. We're about to hit the 30-minute mark, so it's perfect. We're about to get into the spoiler aspects of it. So again, pause the video here, go see the movie, or if you feel like our thoughts were good enough for you to go see it. If not, leave it alone. You can just keep watching the spoiler stuff. But now we're gonna get into some of the spoiler points and plot points of the film. First and
these kids are fucking stupid.
Yeah,
kids are fucking stupid. Why would you go into a forest and try to talk to your dead mom by yourself? how the fuck you think that's gonna end? Like, honestly, like,
so
what are
I had that same sentiment, and I was trying to put myself in that mental space of like,
same.
If at least for me, I'm a bastard. Obviously, I'm a fatherless child. I have a grandfather, but if it was a situation in which I never knew this parent, and because you kind of see all the time where like adopted children or children that find out that they weren't from their parents are their biological parents later on, you yearn for that connection with your biological parents. So I can't say it's unrealistic because you see it in real life in different similar situations to that, but I will say what I'll say about that scene is that they made it too much of a joke. At least like both girls. One girl I could see it being because she's like the white girl that hasn't been baptized yet, and she's like, we've seen white girls play with Ouija boards before. Sorry if you're a white girl watching this. I'm sorry. I've had white homegirls that played around with Ouija boards, and I told her to cut that shit out.
Never.
But well, granted, because she's atheist too, so maybe these are two kids that like aren't the strongest in their faith in their children. So maybe
which is weird too. If you're atheist yet you believe enough in it to do that, yeah, it's kind of.
Well, that's one interesting thing too. That was part of the great writing that I saw there. They show that she's an atheist, and they talk about it in the script as well. Of like when you were going through something like a traumatic event like that, or you're in pain, you're searching for anything that you think can bring you solace. And for that girl, she was like, "Well, my friends are Christian, and maybe that can help us out." And then the dad's immediately like cutting that down of like, oh, that didn't do shit. That didn't work. Because you see, he's like a super atheist. It feels like she's only an atheist because of him, but he's just like a super atheist because of his experiences. Right. So she's like questioning it and kind of wanting to like, I wonder if I did this, if I could meet my mom again or hear her, because I'm hearing her all the time. So yeah, to Otis's point, yeah, that shit was stupid, but not unrealistic to me per se. I mean,
it's understandable. Yeah. Not that you necessarily do it. Again, it's a child. Children are stupid. I get that. But it's understandable where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. Yeah. And
it made sense. Like they made it a point to make sense in the plot. Like I thought that was, again, that's part of the reason why I love the writing in this, because most of the stupid things, even if stupid, they like mention why subtly in the script at some point. But yeah, biggest thing I wanted to get into this really quickly. The dad. This is one of the best things that I love about Leslie Odom Jr.'s performance is that they utilize they showcase how clingy he is and why he would be clingy, and through him, we talk about all the time as far as show don't tell. You see it in like subtle gestures and the way he's like interacting with his daughter of like, oh, we always hang out on movie nights, or we always do this, or here's these pancakes, these are things we always do together. And the daughter's like, I want to go do this though with my friends, and you can see him like, you can see how clingy he is and how much of a protector he wants to be of his daughter.
Of course.
And I thought that was so well done subtly. I ate that shit up because it was done. They characterized him in such a subtle way, and he didn't have to blatantly be like, "I love you."
Right. No. Yeah.
We've seen it before.
Yeah, and that's you're right, because that is a big thing. Because also his character. Yeah, obviously he's the best actor, Ellen Burstyn, who's only in the movie for a little while. But yeah, his portrayal of a realistic character is the best, of a father who is afraid. I mean, for good reason, is afraid that something might happen to his daughter. That's the only family he has left. And so I get why he, of course, and she's growing up too fast. All these things make sense. But you're right, though, that they showed his fear of losing her, as opposed to him saying over and over again. They showed how much he loves her, how much he wants to be with her, and they show that time is coming to an end, and which feeds directly into the theme of her being out of reach from him when she does get possessed later on. So it's like, and also the idea of his faith being challenged, but then he has it again. So all these things do make sense. So I get that.
Oh, that's what you better say something. My bad.
No, I was just mine was on a complete tangent about like the levels of stupid things you can do before you get to like accidentally getting possessed. Because like just sneak out, like go to a rave. But no.
Well, so what's funny about we have actually this, I would tangent off of Otis's tangent. We've all seen Devilman Crybaby here, or any Devilman here.
Yeah.
I mean, shit can happen at raves too. You go to a rave, you've been getting much worse.
Plus, much worse than getting possessed and disappearing for 3 days.
The people at that rave that were with the Akira and what's the other dude's name? Roy, what's his name? Akira's friend.
I mean, spoiler alert, we were already in the spoiler section. One of the little girls ended up just as bad as one of those people at that rave. Hey, you know.
Yeah. Granted, where were they? It was like Percy, Georgia, I think. And if I know anything about Percy, Georgia, I could be wrong. People, if you know, there's no raves going on there. There's no raves going on. With a couple a couple dozen miles of there just to raise that.
A couple dozen miles of just death. Just
I'm just saying that there's levels of things you can get to before you say, hey, let's like talk to my dead mom in the middle of like a forest with no one around. Like,
but what do you think that was going to happen though? What do you think they were expecting to actually happen?
So the daughter makes a comment, and I don't know if this is, well, I think they allude to it being the demon or demons, of her talking about like she can hear her mom.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like metaphorical in the sense of like, you know, everybody's feel like they can hear their loved ones that have passed on, or if like this demon was like already like whispering in her ear like little shit. Or if you've seen Talk to Me, it's very similar to that of like, oh, the parent is whispering and trying to convince the demon, convince you to do stupid shit so they can get inside of you.
I think it's literal because of the that enchant that with prayer enchantment thing that the dad did earlier when she was in the womb. So I think it's going to be literal, and also how the demon keeps manipulating things over and over again. So I think it's meant to be literal.
Yeah, I thought that would come back around, like the whole blessing that was done on her in the womb.
Right, the blessing.
I mean, it made sense like early in the movie, I guess, as far as her surviving, and especially in the end when they circle back to like showing that the dad. That was another thing too, in regards to like the decision they gave the dad. I don't know how you guys personally feel about it, but I know with me, if I were in that situation, I would choose my spouse.
The Sophie's choice?
Like every time. Yeah. Like the fact they made him choose like, oh, it's your wife or your child. I'm like, we can make another child, but I can't make another you. So I'm, at least personally, so in my head, I thought they alluded to, which is again, great writing. They alluded to like, they made it look like that he chose a daughter. But then they circled all the way back around at the end of the movie to be like you didn't want me here. Yeah. And I guess that blessing may have been the reason why she survived and the mom died. I don't know. But I thought that would play a bigger part of like the possession aspect because you were blessed in the womb and this demon can still take you with no effort.
Well, also the idea that the demon says to us, like you damned. This is a child of damnation in a sense because you didn't want it in a sense. Obviously not to that extent, but it's like he literally chose the other one and they kind of flipped the script and said, okay, because you wanted this one, you get this one. Therefore, it's your curse to bear. It's a weird, and the guilt and everything too. It's a lot there. So yeah.
And they made it a point to showcase how like these girls are possessed because one girl's an atheist and doesn't believe in Jesus Christ, and the other one just wasn't baptized yet. And so I don't know if that like was a point to make it easier for them to get possessed, but again, they throw in like subtle things here and there where I'm kind of like, I'm hearing it and I'm trying to like dissect, is this like a bigger thing that you're trying to say here? Or is this just something you're using to kind of push the plot along that context to the film?
Yeah, I think they did that quite a bit actually. Like, you know, just like mentioning something like profound and then not bringing it back around, which is why I kind of disagree with your point on setups and payoffs. Because like, I think they set up a lot of potential things that never actually like really played out here. And I mean, maybe now knowing that this is going to be a trilogy, they're supposed to be played off in the other ones, but like they literally like, you know, compared their possession to, you know, Reagan's. Jesus. Oh, like, you definitely. Know, like, they you know, they went off and were gone for 3 days and came back. Like, you know, they made that direct parallel to like, you know, how when Jesus died on the cross, God was gone, walked through hell, and then came back. Like that, they said that directly. Like, you know, so like, which would make me feel like this would be like a bigger level possession than what we got. Like this felt really tame.
Oh, so what you're saying is you thought this would be like almost an apocalyptic level. This is the Antichrist level thing, right? That's
something like,
I see.
Yeah.
But I feel like that may come back around though, like kind of like you said in the other movies, because little girl got dragged to hell, and I'm like, there's no way they don't bring her back at any point in the future. I don't know if it's gonna be like bigger a time skip where her friend comes back or what it's gonna be, but we know she's fitting the block. And that's one thing too. They never really like specify. That's also another thing that I enjoy about this is that they don't give too much information on the demon. You know, in the first one, they got Pazuzu's name and all that stuff. But in this one, it's like, we don't know if it's Pazuzu because, well, we assume it's Pazuzu because of the familiarity it has with Reagan and the original mom. But they never specify because it doesn't sound exactly like that demon from the first one. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to be like if it's another King of Hell or something of the sort. And I feel like at this point we've seen all the Kings of Hell in different horror movies that's come out within the last 5 years. But I don't know.
That's interesting though.
If the other movies come out and they don't touch on back on some of this stuff, then I'll see Otis's point. But I'm not quite mad at it for the fact it may be set up for further movies down the line. If they capitalize on it in those movies, then I'll be like, okay, that was well done. But if not, they just forget about what they did in previous films, and I'm like, okay.
I can't imagine them.
I mean, they even staying in just this movie. I'm sorry to cut you off, Eva. I still wanted to get this one because even staying within this one, like there was no setup that showed like a reason for the other girl to die. Like there was nothing that really hinted at something like that. Like even the decision like her father made to say he chooses her when this is the choice between the two girls, like that wasn't even built up. Like there was nothing showcasing like that was gonna happen. There was no foreshadowing behind, at least not that I saw.
Yeah, I'd push back on that. I think they did that with the dad. It wasn't like foreshadowed from the beginning of the film, but from the moment they enter that house and like in that final scene, they're showing the dad being like a skeptic and being like very afraid and like acting on instinct with a lot of points in the movie. Because keep in mind when the demon, because they have a point in the film where the demon says, okay, you have to choose and one dies. And you have this like tender moment between the dad and the mom where they're like, we refuse to choose, but they purposely neglect showing the dad making any kind of decision or even looking at that. And the dad himself, even within the context of the possession or the exorcism, he's being tortured the most because he was the one that was so against other things, and he was the one that's super into Christ and super hard and strict on things. And it felt like she broke him down the most, and him acting on impulse didn't feel out of character. Now they didn't say anything specifically as far as like him making decisions, but him acting on impulse to be like, all right, I just want this to end and I choose you. That felt appropriate for the characters. What I'm saying,
character arc, from where he started to where he ends, is as opposed to going with going on faith and trust and everything. It's him like I have no choice. I'm going to do this.
I've had enough.
I see what you're saying. So I see what you're saying.
But see, I disagree there because like it felt like the mom had the deeper connection on that because like she said herself that like she feels so bad because she's the one that pushed back on her getting baptized. Like
she seemed more calm. So like I say that the specific scene that leads into that is in the beginning they're in the police station and the parents are meeting each other for the first time. And the dads are very obviously like angry and things of that nature. I think the Leslie Odom Jr.'s character like explodes and kicks a trash can at one point, but you see the mom staying relatively in control in the situation. Like she's in distress still, but she's not acting as erratic as the others. And I don't know if that was like supposed to be like a parallel to something. Yeah,
like Leslie Odom Jr. had like the big outward display, but like the father was just sitting there distraught. Like he was upset. Like you could see that he was mad, but like he wasn't like.
Let's remember the dialogue. He was talking to her and being like, "You need to do this. You're not doing your job." He was basically being like 40-year-old white dad with power, but he was like demanding things and like, "I need and want this to happen now. You got to go do your job." Blah 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 blah. That's like the character, at least from my understanding. That's what they painted him as. Like I want my way. I act erratically. And then they showed how broken, like that's again, one thing I really enjoyed was when they went to go visit the other girl's possession, you just see the dad in there just like broken. And he's like almost having a mental breakdown where he's not really expressing emotion. He's kind of just like rocking, kind of trying to soothe himself back and forth. But you cut to the mom and the mom's like consoling the children. And she's the one being strong. But the dad's in there broken and like does not know what to do. He just wants it to be over with.
Well, yeah. So one thing too, getting it, the bigger thing we got to mention before we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this too. Of course, is the relationship between Chris and Reagan. I know they're not in the movie that much at all, but the idea is this is what could potentially happen down the road, where you are just completely estranged from one another and the family no longer functions at all. So that theme that is thematic, that's the worst case scenario essentially. If you choose poorly in this decision, you could lose your child forever. Your family could be destroyed, essentially. Even if they're still alive, you could be gone. So keep that in mind too.
I think that was a sociological parallel they tried to like form there as far as parents holding their children too close, and then you're eventually losing them with the possession, and then the Reagan aspect of it. And this one scene I had in my notes too that I really thought was kind of fun that they added in there that added a lot of context was the dad is at work as a photographer, and there's this whole little sequence where there's a misbehaving child at this photo shoot he's doing, which to me it felt like the parallel of like the children acting out of control, and the dad is trying to get the kid under control so they can take pictures, and he's like sprawling out, he's like counting, he's doing the whole counting thing of 1, 2, when I'm done you're gonna act right. Oh, and they showed that parallel there, and that again that was a little bit of foreshadowing that I thought was really well done, as far as like the children acting out of control, and eventually the dad got the kid to take the pictures, and kind of chill out. But I felt like that was the big parallel of the film as far as parents being overbearing and demanding the most of your child and not really giving them any freedom or leeway, and them just eventually just leaving you. And you saw that a lot with Chris and Reagan in regards to, well, for them, it was more so the aspect of her writing that book without letting her know, and her spending years trying to research what she saw, whatever else, instead of just focusing on building that relationship back with her daughter. She was focused on what she wanted and not what they wanted, which, again, you saw that parallel between Leslie Odom Jr.'s character as far as, and the other parents as well. This is what we want for our children versus what our children want, and us just building that relationship with them.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, like Otis said at the beginning, it does lean more towards a drama with horror elements. And the horror, like you mentioned before, Deb, the horror is so psychological and sociological, or, is a lot of things like that. It's thematic. So it's meant to be, it's a very different brand of horror and suspense than obviously the original Exorcist. But I think it's deliberate.
Also, I mean, I don't think this is a theme. This is just like an end result of how, events transpired within the movie. The church is basically useless, like throughout that.
100% useless.
The nun, well, the nun, she tried to do her thing, saying her prayers, and her cross burns and she drops that. The priest comes in trying to save the day, and he hits a left turn too hard.
Oh fuck.
Like the pastor was there the whole time and was like completely useless. Like it was
made the
like just meaning that upon it. It just happened the way it did. The hard left turn. He
just hit that left turn and didn't stop. He didn't stop. The thing is, his death was actually really well set up, because like the whole time during the thing said, don't touch the kids during this process. Don't touch the kids during this process. And what he do, soon as he burst through the door saying his players, like, oh yeah, happy day, I'm here to save it. You know what I'm saying? It's Rico Suave, the pastor, the bishop, whatever his position was, puts his hands on both these little girls' head. I was like, oh, he's done. That is barbecue.
Yeah. As soon as he touched him, I was like,
in rice. Put him in rice.
T-shirt.
But they literally, maybe it's kind of a reflection of the time. So they made the Catholic Church very much like the Catholic Church a joke. So,
I think that reflects where like the way modern society views the church now. And I think especially too, as far as I'm turning to Eastern medicine, because that's another thing I had in my notes, is they pretty much showed how like the woman showcasing the religious aspects and the medicine that she took from Africa and African slaves and things that they carried over. It was a lot more useful and more powerful. Because it seemed like she even like, when you like in a boss fight in a video game and you hit it with like a critical hit and you drop a bunch of the health bar, that's what it felt like she did at one point. Because
it was her and Leslie Odom at the end of the day. Like, you know what? I'm gonna bring my daughter back. That's my daughter. You can't take my kid. Give me back my purse.
But I thought that was dope though, is that because in the first one they made the church like such a big aspect of it. In the most possession films, it's like the Catholic Church. Yeah, and this it was like, yeah, bro, it's working a little bit, but fuck y'all though. And this lady just like the doula, or I don't know what to call her. I don't know what her exact title was.
Useful. That's what she was.
Yeah.
She was useful.
And she seemed more knowledgeable on the whole thing. She seemed really knowledgeable on the whole experience. So in my head, I'm like, how many possessions have you been through with this?
Right.
Because you just know too much about this.
Like, just go to her next time.
Yeah.
Because the next bishop you're going to go to is going to be sitting sideways again. So, like,
I guess she'll be in the sequel. Well, because the thing is that obviously the original movie is called The Exorcist, and they portray the Exorcist as the priest that saved the day. This is Exorcist Believer, which is all about getting people who are not, the priests or whatever clergymen, to believe and come together as a community to make a change. The parents, the family.
I'm glad you
cannot.
No, so it brings me to something that I was thinking of earlier that I didn't want to spoil too. So going back to Chris, like you saying how she didn't play a big part, I think she actually played a gigantic part, because I don't think that Leslie Odom Jr.'s character actually believes without seeing her writing.
Oh,
like if you don't have the combination of the not so nun in that book hitting him at his lowest moment, I don't think he actually believes any of this. And then once he gets a chance to talk to her, then he really is like, oh, this is real. We got to fix this. What do we do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she can be integral. She can be definitely integral, but not around as much. Yeah, she can still be integral. Yeah.
That's my point. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys watched the new Candyman reboot, but I feel like the way they did that callback was very, very well done in regards to. And that one, it was essentially, they're going to bring back the woman from the original film and have them do a little bit of backstory and conversation. But the thing that they did with her, with Ellen Burstyn, that I thought was kind of overdone, was they brought in the book, they introduced it, they had the conversation in her house, but then they proceeded to trot her like Iron Man to the demon to stop. I'm like, what is she going to do? She's not about to perform the exorcism. And then you saw her try to perform a makeshift exorcism until the demon you're going to leave her alone. And she's like, bitch, I do what I want. I was like, okay. I mean, I enjoyed the prosthetics and that scene, because that was really one of the darker scenes that happened, that I was like, okay, this is the horror aspect of it. But I'm like, I feel like they could have done what they did as far as her having that conversation with him and introduced a book without trotting her out just to get taken out. Because that just felt extra. I love. Part of me loves that it was there, but I was like, was this really needed? And could you have used this on someone else? That whole interaction.
I think the whole idea though is, like you said, it's fan service. This is Ellen Burstyn in an Exorcist. For her first time in an Exorcist film since 77, the first one came out with us. Mm-hmm. So of course you got to play it up. You got to give her some shine. I mean, it's the same thing as Vader in Rogue One, right? Vader only had two real scenes in that movie, and both of them they gave him lots of shine, lots and lots of shine to do his thing. You got to do the same with Ellen Burstyn. She only has a couple of scenes in this movie too, including the scene where she's on the YouTube channel. So it's you got to give her some time to shine.
I feel like I've seen the hero being blind. I feel like I've seen that scene a couple times where this superhero or dominant figure is supposed to come back gets literally blinded, literally. Mm-hmm. And I can't place what films or movies or shows I've seen it in, but I feel like that's a trope.
Kanan and Rebels happens to him too.
Kanan and Rebels, or I've seen that a lot. I don't know why, but I don't know why that's a trope. But it wasn't a bad scene, and I don't think she had a bad performance. I just felt like I wanted to see a little bit more of the breakdown of the families, because I felt like we got a little bit of it, and then we kind of introduced her and kind of fast forwarded to the exorcism. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, scenes like the church scene in which she's in church. I love that fucking church scene, because she's over there doing weird shit, and you see the kids freaking out what the fuck? What the fuck is she over there doing? And then you see her disappear, and then her walk in and doing the shit that you saw from the trailer as far as her screaming the body and the blood, and you just feel the uncomfortableness that everyone else in the pew is having. I think if we could have got one or two more scenes like that from each girl, instead of that Iron Man walk up the stairs into her confronting the demon, I thought that would have been perfect for me personally. But I'm not mad either way. I just thought that I wanted a little bit more screen time for that. Because in my mind, this was a one and done movie. I didn't know they were about to do a trilogy until I got off, and then I saw a video and then talked to Danny about it. I was like, damn, they about to do a trilogy? Damn, I hope this shit is an ass. But
I mean, it will be a trilogy unless it doesn't make enough money. I think it will make enough money though. I think so.
I think it's gonna be just fine from namesake and then how good it is. Like it's not the best movie in the box office, but I think it's good enough to warrant a second one if they wanted to do it.
Well, because also typically horror movies don't cost that much money to make, so it doesn't have to make a whole bunch of crazy money in order to make a profit. It's not like it's
unless you're Evil Dead, because those
did they spend that much money though? That was more prosthetics and like a lot of like.
I don't know how much they cost.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of CG in that though.
What they like the budget for Evil Dead compared to this, like it can't be close. Sure. Like just. You mean
the original Evil Dead, which cost $1.50?
No, the remake that came out recently.
This one, the really bad one that just came out like a couple months ago.
Yeah. So speaking of that, in the comparison,
Evil Dead Rise, yeah.
I don't know if there was like the same people that worked on that special effects team on this one, but I saw a lot of similarities in the makeup with like the eye contacts and like certain way. Like it looked very similar, and how they did that. It's
very different. Like almost like the level in Evil Dead Rise, it's like almost like borderline Looney Tunes compared to this. But there was some similarities as far as the lighting and look. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Which we'll get into that movie later at some point, but. Yeah, that was one thing too. Like the makeup on these girls was really well done. Like it looked like they were decaying away. It's very funny to me because I've talked to coworkers and like other people about like that they've seen any trailers or like marketing for it. I've had people tell me like, yeah, I had to turn off the promo for it. I was getting creeped out because even if you look at the promo in the film when you want to watch it, it's just a picture of the girl, one of the girls in full makeup with the cross on her head, and it's so fucking jarring seeing that, and how well done it is. Like I see that image and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to see that shit. I'm trying to walk a little bit faster so I don't have to see it anymore. But I think that's something how well done it was.
Corrupted innocence is always unsettling.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the thing when it comes to like the human psychology and the way the brain works. The things that human beings innately want to protect are children, animals, and women. So when any of those things are like in danger, you immediately have that protector instinct, at least in men. I think women have it to an extent as well. So having that and then ramping it up to 10 with these girls being like possessed, I thought that was, it was well done, man. I cared about the little girls at the end of the day because I saw enough of it. I cared about them. But sure. Y'all have any, I think go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, I thought I'm just really seeing how desensitized I am to this level of stuff. Because like, I mean, the promo was like, oh, yep, another one.
That's what I think it is too. My biggest takeaway is that the movie is fine. The movie is fine. It's just that we are it takes a lot to permeate us these days as an audience. It takes a lot. And it's not just we've seen a lot of movies, we've seen a lot of content. We see so much stuff all the time streaming. We see so much stuff in movies, anime, video games, TV shows. And TV shows can do the stuff in The Boys is even crazier than stuff you see in movies. It's like
Gen V is hitting right now.
Is it out already? I gotta go see that. I've been waiting.
The first 4 episodes are out, and it's fire.
But all I'm saying is, it's like, of course, how can you possibly keep up with this? The first Exorcist movie was half a century ago. So yeah, what do you expect? Yeah.
Last 2 things I have in my notes that I thought was just funny that I wanted to share. One was the heart thing. I don't know how they thought we were gonna think that girls were gonna survive when we watched her cough up a heart before they made the decision. Like you literally watch her like cough up and throw up a heart on the ground, and I'm like, she's dead, right? Like, she's dead. I was like, I don't know. Even if the decision was made, I don't know how. Which again, I thought the decision was kind of that was a well written plot point as far as the dad like last minute, like, no, I choose you finally, and then it was like, psych, nigga, you thought it was a test. Demon was like, fuck you. Last thing, I have verbatim, the church is pussy. Because they did all that, like the Pope or the father did all that FaceTime with the church. And they were like, oh my God, this is scary. We got to help these kids. And they cut to being like, yeah, the church said, nah, we ain't fucking with that. And I've seen that even in the Pope's Exorcist, they do that shit too, where it's like
church made the right call though. Because if he didn't go in there, he'd still be alive. But
that's your point. That's your job. You're like, as the church, you're supposed to banish these demons. And because I've seen that in like a couple Exorcist movies now. In the Pope's Exorcist, they're just like, hey, bro, some crazy shit going on. We're not going to handle it, but we know you crazy as hell, so we're going to send you by yourself. Or if you watch the Nun movie.
Almost every time.
in the nun movie, this is a slight spoilers, but like instead of the church sending an actual pope, they just send this nun to go fight this demon because they're like, we know you like survived before. Can you like go do that again? Because we don't want to do that shit. Like the church is just pussy in a lot of these movies coming out recently. I don't know what it is.
And the Catholic Church specifically. They know it's evil. They just don't feel like doing anything about it. It's like, what's your job? It's like being a Ghostbuster. The Vatican there's a ghost over there not busting it. But whatever.
Ghostbuster not busting. But yeah, man. I got it. This is a dope movie to me. Also, the smell. They talked about a smell when they walked into the house with the girls being there. And I don't know if that's like sulfur or like the rotting of their flesh.
It was sulfur too because of Supernatural. They always talk about the sulfur.
Right. I'm like, they're literally rotting away, so they could have been that too. It was dope. Have y'all ever smelled rotting flesh before? What rotting flesh smells like? Animals, yeah, like rotting flesh, animal flesh, but not human flesh.
So yeah, if you go like to like a morgue, that kind of stuff, you can smell it there too.
I don't think I'd ever want to hang around a morgue. You know, I tend to not want to be around dead bodies.
Yeah, it's not fun. Not fun. On that note, happy Halloween month.
Happy Halloween, guys. This was fun. I had fun with it. The movie was fun. I'm glad to be back here reviewing things. This is a really great film to review. As soon as I saw the trailer, when the trailer first dropped, I'm like, yeah, nigga, this is the one. It's the one we're gonna review. It's gonna be a good way to get Halloween kicked off. But yeah, for anybody watching this, again, like I've said it a couple times throughout the show, but we are going to be doing a lot of Halloween content this month. We're going to be doing, starting off with, we have a show, a watch party Tuesday, where we're collaborating with Blurred and hosting a watch party of Pet Cemetery within their Discord chat, try to get some engagement there as well. And we're also doing our gaming streams like we normally do, but this time we're going to focus on trying to get people from the community involved to come play along with us. So we'll be putting posts around the Facebook groups, or specifically in the Blurred Approved Entertainment group and probably the Blurred Official group as well, to try to get some people to come up and play some games with us if you want a game. Or we're going to try to play around to get some games that are likely that everybody has, to try to get the maximum amount of engagement. And sometimes we'll just be doing shit that we want to do because we want to do it and it's fun. I was going to do a video essay, but my computer and my PC is not playing nice with me, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, we have a lot of content coming in October. Are there anything else you guys wanted to plug before we get ready to close out?
Make sure you check out blurred.com. We got articles and merchandise going up there all the time. Check out Echelon Graphic Novels, EchelonGNovels.com, and go get you some of our comic books. We all three got some up there, so go buy you one. We tell pretty good stories, better than most of these movies.
Damn.
I'm just gonna say that.
Last thing I was gonna plug, today actually we just had the live show for the official 2v2 tournament. We're tapping on capping. I myself am a judge on there now. So I'm going to be judging for majority of the tournament. It was a dope episode. It was a lot of tension, a lot of trash talk. I learned some interesting stuff about Karnak as a character. I did not know that nigga is broken. So it was fun. So if you guys want to go check that out, I think it's going to be on the Tapping No Capping page. It was live there, and then should have a link to it somewhere on there. But if y'all like debates and versus battles, that's the place to go watch it at. Yeah, that's all I have. Any closing remarks, guys, before we get up out of here?
No. Good.
Nope. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
There was no build up to that. And Talk to Me is still better than this. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Talk to Me was definitely still.
Then and now, we got the crown when we rock the town. Hot sound.